You ever look at Obi Wan Kenobi and think, wait a second, how did this soft-spoken, tea-drinking space monk manage to body half the Sith population without even breaking a sweat? I mean, really think about it. This dude spends most of his time meditating, quoting ancient texts, and making sarcastic remarks that sound like they came from a frustrated English teacher. And yet somehow, he walks away from fights that should have left him as Jedi soup. Darth Maul trained his whole life for one thing: murdering Jedi. With parkour and rejand, Obi-Wan cuts him in half like he's trimming a bonsai tree. Count Dooku tosses him across rooms with the flick of a wrist. Twice. And Obi-Wan still shows up like a polite middle manager asking for his job back. And don't even get me started on Mustafar. You're telling me the guy who took on peak Anakin, the lever-fueled Chosen One himself, and left him as a spicy torso, wasn't juicing on some galactic cheat code, and yet nobody ever talks about it. No parades, no statues, no Force Ghost fan clubs handing out robes with his face on them. It's always Yoda this, Anakin that. Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber, and suddenly he's cool. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's over here holding the Republic together with duct tape and disappointment, while everyone ignores him like he's space furniture. But here's the kicker. Maybe that's what made him so dangerous. Not the flash, not the power, but the fact that he never tried to win. He just outlasted you, waited for your tantrum to burn out, and then calmly sliced you in half while apologizing for the inconvenience. That's not just Jedi skill, that's emotional damage with a lightsaber. And the more you peel back the layers, the more insane it gets. Every duel he walks into, he walks out of. He loses everyone he loves, sees the entire Jedi Order crumble around him, watches his best friend turn into Space Hitler, and still wakes up every morning like, yep, guess I'll guard this desert for the next 19 years and not complain about it. In this video, we're breaking down how Obi-Wan Kenobi somehow beat Sith Lords who were faster, stronger, and often completely insane. We're going through every duel, every tactical decision, every weird little moment where he should have died but didn't. And by the end of it, you might start to wonder, was Obi-Wan the Jedi we wanted? Or the Jedi the galaxy barely deserved? Obi-Wan Kenobi might be the most boringly fascinating Jedi in Star Wars history. He doesn't fly around like Yoda. He doesn't scream like Anakin. And yet somehow he walks away from duels that should have vaporized him. It makes you stop and ask the question, what was it about Obi-Wan that let him go toe-to-toe with Sith Lords who were faster, stronger, and usually more unhinged than him? Was it just experience? Or was he secretly playing 4D chess while everyone else was swinging lightsabers like baseball bats? Let's take Darth Maul for starters. This guy was literally trained for one think-killing Jedi. He had the horns, the eyes, the double-bladed saber, the parkour subscription, everything. And yet, Obi-Wan, a relatively inexperienced Padawan at the time, manages to not only survive him, but slice him in half after watching his own master get skewered. You don't just pull that off without some serious composure or a little divine intervention. Then there's Count Dooku. Yes, Obi-Wan got ragdolled a few times, but here's the twist. He keeps coming back. Dooku was a duelist of the highest order, trained by Yoda himself, and yet Obi-Wan's style form 3. The one built for defense, and endurance kept him alive in fights. Most Jedi wouldn't last 2 minutes in. It's not flashy, but it's terrifyingly effective, and weirdly underappreciated. And let's not even pretend like the Mustafar fight with Anakin was fair. Anakin was younger, stronger, allegedly the Chosen One, and powered by volcanic rage. Obi-Wan didn't just beat him, he broke him, literally left him crawling through fire while delivering one of the most cold-blooded monologues in Star Wars. That wasn't just a win, that was domination. By a guy who mostly looks like he wants to finish his tea in peace. So what's the secret? Was Obi-Wan just consistently underestimated? Or did his whole common collected persona mask someone who was secretly one of the most dangerous Jedi alive? We're going to dig into every fight, every win, and every moment where Obi-Wan shouldn't have made it out alive, but somehow did. Here's where it starts to grind my gears. The Jedi Council had Obi-Wan front and center for years, yet they rarely treated him like the powerhouse he clearly was. Meanwhile, Mace Windu got treated like Space Batman, and Anakin got every gold star for sneezing correctly. Obi-Wan, half the time he looked like the group project guy who actually did the work, but still got left off the credit slide. Take his fight record and stack it next to any Jedi of his era. He takes down Maul, holds his own against Grievous fences with Dooku more than once, and still has time to beat Anakin in a lava-soaked showdown. But when the Council talks, it's like he's just that responsible one they trust to babysit Skywalker. What exactly did Obi-Wan have to do to get some real recognition? Build a Death Star and blow it up himself? The thing that breaks your heart is how alone Obi-Wan really was through it all. Everyone he got close to either died, betrayed him, or got taken by the war. Qui-Gon was taken too soon, Satine was murdered right in front of him, and Anakin, his brother, his friend, his student, became the very monster Obi-Wan was sworn to stop. That's not just loss. That's soul erosion. You can see it in his eyes in Revenge of the Sith. This isn't the face of a man proud of his victory. It's the face of someone who just watched the galaxy fall apart and knows he played a part in it. He didn't just defeat Anakin, he destroyed the last connection he had to a life that made sense. And he couldn't even mourn properly. The war didn't stop to let him breathe. Then you get to A New Hope, and he's just a ghost of himself. A hermit wandering the desert, talking to voices in the wind, clinging to an old code in a galaxy that moved on without him. He's not just hiding from the Empire, he's hiding from his past. Every day on Tatooine was a slow crawl through guilt and memory. Even when he meets Luke, there's this quiet sadness in how he speaks. He's trying to be hopeful, but you can feel the weight behind every word. It's not the voice of a mentor excited to train again. It's the voice of a man trying to make peace with a lifetime of failures and missed chances. And still, he shows up, because that's who he is. So many fans focus on Obi-Wan's victories, but his real story is defined by loss. He wins battles, but loses everything that made them worth fighting. That's not a hero's journey. It's a slow, painful unraveling of someone who deserved so much more. But here's the wild part. Even after everything, after the betrayals, the losses, the wars, Obi-Wan never cracked. He never turned dark, never lashed out, never lost his moral compass. In a galaxy built on revenge and rage, he somehow held the line with nothing but grit, faith, and a blue lightsaber. That's not just strength, that's unshakable character. Every fight he walked into, he wasn't trying to dominate or intimidate. He fought with purpose, with restraint, with the goal of ending conflict, not fueling it. Whether it was blocking 1,000 strikes from Grievous or defending himself from Anakin's fury on Mustafar, Obi-Wan stayed grounded. Not because he was the strongest, but because he was the most centered. And that legacy didn't die with him. Obi-Wan's teachings lived on through Luke, not just in lightsaber techniques or dusty lessons, but in values, in restraint, in compassion. Luke's entire arc is built on rejecting violence, even when he has the power to destroy. That's not Yoda's influence, that's Obi-Wan through and through. You see it when Luke refuses to strike down Vader on the Death Star, when he tosses his lightsaber away in front of the Emperor. That's not just a moment of defiance. That's the culmination of everything Obi-Wan stood for. The idea that strength is not about power, but about choosing not to use it. That's what made the Jedi noble, and what made Obi-Wan unforgettable. And in the sequels, love them or hate them, you still feel his impact. Rey literally hears his voice calling to her, reminding her of who she is and what she stands for. Even if the storytelling gets messy, the Force still remembers him. Because the galaxy always remembers those who sacrificed in silence. Even the newer shows and spin-offs from the Clone Wars to Kenobi try to capture that quiet wisdom, that inner conflict wrapped in sarcasm and stoicism. Because deep down we all recognize that Obi-Wan is the Jedi we'd want to be. Not flashy, not chosen, just steady and unbreakable. So maybe that's the point. Maybe Obi-Wan's gift wasn't strength or speed or even skill, but even legends fade. And that's the tragedy of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He gave everything. And in the end, he disappeared into the sands of time, like a whisper no one remembers. The galaxy moved on, the wars continued, and most people never even knew the name of the Jedi who saved them more times than they could count. He didn't leave behind armies or statues or massive Force temples. He left behind a kid, a hope, a chance that maybe the light could rise again. And maybe that's what makes his story so powerful. He never got the glory, but he made sure someone else could. Because at the end of the day, Obi-Wan's greatest fight wasn't with Darth Maul or Anakin or Vader. It was against despair, against the idea that it was all meaningless. And every time, he answered it with quiet resilience, with unwavering duty, with just enough hope to light the next step forward. And yeah, we can debate how he beat so many Sith until the end of time. We can break down the choreography and analyze the Force mechanics and argue about lightsaber forms and midichlorians. But the truth is, none of that really explains it. What explains it is who he was when it mattered most. In the end, Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't the flashiest Jedi, or the strongest, or even the most recognized. But he was the one who stood his ground, who held the line, and who walked away from every fight, not just alive but still himself. And in a galaxy that rewards power over principle, that might be the greatest victory of all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please consider looking at my pinned comment and checking out the links for my Amazon storefront. It contains my favorite Legos, my gear in which I make videos, and comics that I read on a daily basis. I update it constantly, so please, take a moment and click on the link. On top of that, check out my second channel, Critical Analysis Hub Plus, and my third channel, Critical Analysis Hub XP. Just one click would go on a long way in supporting my channels and future in YouTube.